I always fight with this question about what is sustainable fashion? What is sustainable living? But more particularly, what is sustainable fashion? I've seen a lot of discourse lately from a lot of my favorite creators, like Climate Diva talking about why she stopped thrifting, Queer Brown Vegan talking about, is sustainability an illusion? And I've had these thoughts myself for some time, and I've tried various like methods, researching, and just kind of ways of living my life. And I just want to talk about those with you today and really dig into what makes something sustainable, particularly when we're talking about fashion. As we know, greenwashing is rampant right now through all the industries, but especially fashion. One of the biggest ones I can think of is like H&M being like, oh, come recycle your clothes, you'll get $10 or 10% off your next purchase, when we know that those clothes that are being recycled are really either A, ending up in landfill, B, ending up in Africa being burned. It really begs the question with all of this greenwashing. I think that's why it's come top of mind, and with more regulations being put in place, of how can I actually be a sustainable consumer? Like, what does that really mean in this day and age? I want to first dive into the topic of thrifting. Does it mean that I should thrift everything that I own and only do secondhand purchases? Kind of, but also not really. Because what Climate Diva was talking about, Summer Dean, she was talking about excess consumption, even of secondhand items, of things that didn't fit her style or she thought were kind of ugly, but still would purchase anyway just to have like a new find. I found myself in this hole a little bit this past year, actually. It was kind of this cycle of like, I'm gonna consume so my numbers on YouTube do well, and I also need new pieces for the summer fall season coming up, or whatever season coming up. I kind of fell into this idea that I'll just thrift my clothing season after season because I can post something on YouTube and I get the dopamine rush of shopping and finding new things at the thrift store or on ThredUp or vintage shops or whatever the case may be. Also, I blew out my bangs. It's over for y'all once I learn how to do it with the rest of my hair. But anyway, I got distracted because they were like waving in my face. To that point, consuming too much, even if it is secondhand, is no longer sustainable. You have to know that there's a line. And when it comes to wardrobe in particular, I'll get into this later, but like with thrifting especially, yes, you can find like quirky, fun pieces, but if they don't fit your style identity, then there's no point in purchasing them in the first place, because when are you actually going to wear those? In reality, take a second, think to yourself, am I actually going to wear this, or is this just giving me my dopamine rush that I came for? Taking the time to really sit down and be like, okay, this is my style identity. These are the pieces that are falling into that. These are what are missing from my wardrobe. Now let me go to the thrift store and seek out things that are secondhand, and in that nature sustainable, because it's more of a need rather than a want to just consume unconsciously and keep purchasing things time and time again. So I think with thrifting, yes, it can be sustainable, but there's also a risk of overconsumption, even with secondhand shopping, because it's A, cheaper, B, you feel less guilty about it, and C, you think, oh, I'm diverting from landfill waste, when in reality you're just a pit stop along the way and still it's being thrown into a landfill even after you're done with it. I will say, if you find something that you can completely reconstruct and make your own again, sure, go for it. It's quirky, but it'll fit you because you're making it fit, you're putting in that time and effort. But if you're just, again, consuming just to consume, like I fell into that trap literally last year. I think I put out upwards of like 3 or 4 thrift hauls or sustainable hauls, and like, you shouldn't be hauling things if it's truly like a sustainable, conscious consumption. And I definitely fell into that. You know, I definitely was a little bit hypocritical at one point, being like, oh, like I don't haul that often, but then like I had a new haul every season. I've definitely taken a step back from that and had even considered hauling again, and I was like, no, there's simply no need for that. This is not the kind of consumption methods that I want to push out. The camera's gonna die, but I was charging it the whole time. Next point I want to talk about is recycled fashion. I have done an entire video on this. Is recycled fashion truly sustainable, or is it just greenwashing? I will link it up here. I think it's over here. I don't know. I still don't know. Note to editing self, is it left or is it right? Write it down so you know to point which way in videos. I did an entire video on this topic, and it depends was the conclusion. Some brands truly are recycling. I saw that they can even put recycled on their labels, even if it's as little as like 5% of the material is recycled. So I would definitely be cautious of that. Another thing too is if it's recycled polyester, it's still shedding microplastics. So that might not be the most sustainable fashion option for you. Best case scenario is just to avoid any oil byproduct whatsoever. So like nylon, acrylic, polyester, the list goes on and on and on, but those are like the big three that come to mind. So just avoiding those, whether it's like virgin, which is yikes, don't do that, or recycled. Those, in my eyes, even when I'm thrifting, I try to stay away from those materials because I know they'll do nothing but continue to shed microplastics into our water stream. And I am scared of the research and the science that's going to come out about microplastics and what kind of disease and illness and ailments it's chronically causing, not only in humans, but the entire ecosystem. I mean, like, we're part of the ecosystem, so I am nervous for that research to come out, but I think once some more hard-hitting kind of like evidence arrives, maybe we'll be more compelled to take strong actions against fossil fuels. Fingers crossed, guys. It seems like a fever dream, a pipe dream at this point, but you know. In that sense, it really depends if you're getting like recycled or downcycled socks or something, and it's like recycled cotton, bamboo, hemp, any recycled natural fiber I find a lot more appealing and something that I think you should kind of look for if you're looking for a recycled fashion anything versus any sort of oil byproduct. So I recommend you go watch that video. I delve a lot deeper into detail about it and what makes something like sustainable, if it's recycled or is it just greenwashing. Like I said, it really depends. Go ahead, check that video out, and then come back to this one and we'll move on to the next topic. I'm obviously such a good YouTuber. I had a backup battery, but sorry if the angles or anything changed. So I feel like the next like pillar of sustainable fashion is the more expensive end of the spectrum. So you have your secondhand thrifting, which is obviously great. Then you have like your mid-tier kind of like recycled fashion. And then finally you have your like organic fibers only. They're Ecotech certified, they're well made in warehouses, people are paid well, labor rights are not being violated constantly, but that also means the fashion is a bit more expensive. I would say, depending on how you consume, the latter option is the best option. Simply because you know it's gonna hold up, you know it's timeless, and you know that the people that made these clothes are not living off of practically a slave wage. In that sense, you have to really evaluate what you're in need of and see if it's worth splurging at the thrift store or saving up for one or two items from like a sustainable fashion brand. And I understand that that latter option is not always the most accessible. So is it the most sustainable? Then what I would say my solution is buy those things from that brand secondhand. It's a win-win. So you're not producing more demand for virgin material and product, and you're getting it at a cheaper price point. So I think like reselling apps, kind of like Mercari, Depop, Poshmark, Vinted, there are so many. I like know of so many because I'm on them and I'm looking for things constantly that like I have on my wish list already, and that kind of helps me look at higher end sustainable fashion and be able to dedicate money into it and purchase it and feel good about it versus like completely splurging like $200 on like a sweater. Maybe I get it for like 75, 100 on a resale app, and I can feel good about it because I know that the brand standards and quality are up to par with my sustainability standards and quality and what I look for and what values I find important in the fashion that I'm going to support and then wear on my body and support in my day-to-day. I think obviously clothing carries energy. Everything in this world carries energy, but clothing is one of the things. Like a knit sweater is handmade by someone, and that's not something a machine can really reproduce or replicate. So you want to make sure that the person that is making your clothing is at a good, healthy standard of living. Like they are not being exploited and forced into making these clothing pieces that you are then going to wear on your body. and show like either A, your support for fair wages, or B, your support for slave labor wages. Like, it sounds very drastic, but at the end of the day, like when clothes are being outsourced to the global south or wherever the case may be, you're supporting that at the end of the day with your fashion. There is this one content creator who's a little harsh, I'm not gonna lie, be warned, Miss Jody Tan on Instagram. She's a fashion stylist but has also been in the fashion industry for like 30 plus years, and she talks about her experiences of what makes good fashion. And like, I think that has something to do with sustainability, because good fashion is lasting fashion that you don't have to replace every 6 weeks. I think investing in your fashion into brands that align with your values is worth it versus splurging at the thrift store or getting like recycled materials from like H&M. Honestly, like they're like mid-tier kind of fast fashion, but they're still fast fashion, and they're just greenwashing their fashion by saying, hey, it's made out of recycled materials, when they could have like 1% recycled materials. I stand corrected, it's not as low as like 1%, but like something as minimal as 20% to 50% for it to be considered recycled material. Does that cut it for you? And is it okay that it's recycled plastic that you're still wearing? To me, I would just rather not wear any sort of plastic. So my solution is to spend a prettier penny on clothes that are Ecotech certified, organic certified, and I know that are gonna last me, and I literally feel good in. Like, I just feel good energy from wearing these clothes and having them on my body, and I think that's important. Like I said, I realize it's not accessible to everyone everywhere, but there are Facebook swap groups that you can be a part of to maybe find things that are free or cheap for secondhand. There's also this website that I really like, Quince. I'm actually wearing one of their organic sweaters from there. It's super cute, super comfy. It's really thick, knit, heavyweight. This is one of the things I was gonna haul, and then decided like I don't need to be doing hauls. I don't think that's necessary for my channel or for the message that I want to produce and put out. So what really makes sustainable fashion sustainable? I feel like I've been dancing around it a little bit, and I wanna come clean. I think what makes sustainable fashion sustainable is that you are consuming consciously, responsibly, ethically, consciously. I think this goes, you could say this for about anything, but especially fashion, because it is really easy to get caught up in the micro trend cycles and want to be on the cutting edge of everything that's coming out on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, and being a part of that and feeling current and feeling hip. And also the fear of missing out is a lot of what branding tactics and marketing tactics are. Is like, get it while you can, sale won't last long, flash sale, flash deal. That's how they get you. Like, psychologically, there's a sense of urgency for you to buy these things. I studied marketing, I should know, and that's also why I stopped studying marketing. There's this false sense of urgency for you to consume, and I think for anyone to be a conscious and sustainable consumer is to recognize that and detach themselves from that. Detach yourself from the fear of missing out, of a micro trend cycle, of the cherry red leather bag. That was one that specifically I really wanted to be a part of, but instead I just painted my nails red, and that did it for me. Like, that was close enough for me. So finding a way to recognize where you're at and then kind of reel back from it and be like, okay, no, I don't need to partake. I'm good enough. I have enough. I don't truly need anything else. Now, if you need a sweater because you have one but it has holes in it and the second one you're wearing to death, maybe it's okay to get another sweater, is what I'm saying. But like, if you're hauling, if you're constantly spending hundreds of dollars on fast fashion pieces, you can afford to buy 1, 2, 3 really well-made, sustainably made pieces, and ethically made and consciously consume in that way. But I feel like another part of being a conscious consumer, a sustainable consumer, is taking account of your needs, first of all, and like truly sitting down and be like, okay, what matters? And secondly, for fashion specifically, knowing your style identity. I think this is the key to conscious consumption, and it's a pitfall for a lot of us, myself included. I truly thought I was like a creative, edgy, grungy gal, like 2017 through 2018, 2020 even. And then I just realized like I don't feel good in what I'm wearing. I'm just trying to conform to like the New York hip artist scene, because those are the kinds of people I was like hanging out with at the time. And I just was like, these clothes aren't flattering though, like I'm hiding myself. And then up until now, it's honestly been like a conscious journey of trying to figure out what really is my style identity. I'm still not 100% sure, but I'm like 85% sure that I really like minimal and feminine. And then I also like to throw a little bit of like creative in there. But then I see myself still trying to like get the edgy pieces into my wardrobe, and I realize like that's just not me though anymore, and like I don't feel my most confident self when I'm wearing those pieces. So figuring out your style identity, I think, is absolutely major in this fight against overconsumption, because a lot of what was fueling my consumption was the fact that I hated my wardrobe, and I was like constantly looking for new things to fill it with that I thought I would love, that would bring me happiness or joy or whatever. And like for the time, I guess they did, but then also I hated my wardrobe, so of course I was constantly going to seek out new things and fill it in that way. And I'm not saying like, oh, I've figured it out completely. Like I'm still struggling in the sense that like a lot of what I wear revolves around work. I'm sure that's the case for most of us. And right now I'm still coaching gymnastics, so a lot of my wardrobe does need to be like workout leggings and stuff. That being said, I can choose to buy Fabletics 4 for $40 or something, or invest into Girlfriend Collective, which I did at the time, and I have holes in my leggings now, so now I'm looking to replace them. But am I gonna make the same mistake before and buy something that's gonna rip apart, like from Gymshark, or honestly even Girlfriend Collective? As much as I support their message and love what they do, I think I'll keep buying like their cami bra tops, but I won't be buying their leggings again. Or do I find another option, like Reprise Activewear is another one that I'm looking at, Hara the Label is another one that I'm eyeing. I bought Lululemon because I had a gift card and I know that the quality is pretty good, so maybe that's not the worst thing. Their sustainability efforts or whatever. But finding out the clothes that you're A, gonna use, and B, going to love wearing are the key of your style identity. I'm not quite the person to make videos on this topic just yet. Like I said, I'm still trying to find my own style identity, but it has been a process, and I've been really gentle with myself throughout. And before I seek something out and be like, I need this, I really take a step back and be like, okay, how many times am I gonna wear this? Do I have to buy something else to be able to style it? Am I gonna love it for 10 years, 5 years? Like what is the timeline I'm looking at before I outgrow this piece? If I'm gonna outgrow this piece stylistically in 6 months, it is not add to cart, it is not in my buggy, it's not in anything, it's not gonna enter my closet, okay? I have limited space in there. It is a privilege to be in my closet, especially here, because New York City space, non-existent. So truthfully for me, I think the key to sustainable fashion is knowing your style identity, number one. That way you're not victim to the fear of missing out of trends because you simply don't know what clothes you like to wear and who you are. That might sound meta and deep, but a little bit. If you're like me, coaching or a personal trainer or in the gym all the time, and you're trying to buy like clubbing, going out clothes, but you don't club, like you don't go out, then like what are you doing? Is it because you saw like an Instagram model wearing that? Maybe. And you know, I'm not shaming anyone for that. It is a process, it is a journey, and everyone is on their own path and wavelength and at different points in their journey. But this discussion is to bring some thought to the table and thought to what you're consuming and what you're doing. And at the end of the day, what you're producing, how much waste you're producing, and how you're supporting these companies that are able to then, in turn, produce more waste. So style identity, number one. Secondly, taking account of what you need versus what you want. For myself, I needed sweaters this winter. I was going to freeze, okay? Because I had purged a lot of my old things. So I needed new sweaters, like genuinely. That wasn't me looking for reasons to buy new things. And the sweaters that I've bought, those have been practically the only things I've worn this winter, which I feel good about. It was a good purchase, it was a good investment. And then thirdly, just making a list, checking it twice. No, making a list, and if things that you want pre-season, like here's what I do for fall. In the summer, I kind of start thinking about things like I might need for fall, and I put on my list, or I go online shopping for it. I don't buy anything, but once those like 2 or 3 months rolls around and I'm still thinking about the item, still thinking it'd be a valuable addition to my wardrobe, that's when I'll then go ahead and purchase it. So slowing down your consumption and just making it more thoughtful, just making it more conscious. I think conscious consumption is the key to sustainability. Not only in fashion, but in this particular case, like definitely fashion. People are just so quick to buy the newest thing, even if it's gonna fall apart in 4 weeks. I think just taking the time to put your money elsewhere and make it work for you, because then you won't have to continuously buy into these new trends, and you'll have a wardrobe that lasts for a lifetime. That's the goal, at least. Those are my thoughts. Again, check out that sustainability video I did about recycled materials, like our recycled clothing, if it's really sustainable or if it's greenwashing. I also have a video reacting to my old thrift hauls, which I think would be interesting for you to watch and kind of see what I've done with pieces I've thrifted. It's holding me accountable, and it's also kind of like eye-opening for me, at least, to be like, why am I thrifting so much? That's another fun video to watch. But I want to thank you so much for spending your time with me today and adding to the discussion of sustainable fashion, because I think it's a topic that we're all conscious of and we're all starting to rethink about. It used to be thrifting is conscious, and organic materials and recycled clothes, those are all good options, but honestly, some options are better than others, and being conscious about what options are valuable to you should be part of the discussion. So that's gonna be all for me today. I hope you guys have a great, wonderful rest of your day, night, whenever you're watching this. Don't forget to be kind to yourself, others, and the planet, and I'll catch you in my next video.